Hello, wild people. Welcome to AK Wild One. As I was going through my backpacking gear in preparation for our long-distance hike this summer, certain items triggered heartwarming feelings of nostalgia. I don't think it was indigestion. Anyway, today I'd like to share with you 10 pieces of indispensable backpacking gear that served me well on last year's Pacific Crest Trail adventure, and the same items that I'll be taking with me again this year. First, let me say I'm not sponsored by any of the companies that produce these products I'm about to share with you. I paid for everything I'm showing you. There are links to the products in the description, and as an Amazon affiliate, I get a small percentage if you use the links to make a purchase. These 10 items serve me well, and I highly recommend them. They survived my harsh treatment and endured the rigors of the trail. The first item I'd like to share with you is actually item 1 and 2. Of course, it's a Sawyer squeeze, but especially this coupling. That was a trumpeter swan, by the way, and it looks like a trumpeter swan is flying away. This coupling keeps your Sawyer squeeze connected to your water bottle. And it's important to keep it a little bit loose so you can let air in. Using a Sawyer squeeze can sometimes feel painfully slow, so if you connect it to a tree, you can just use a gravity system. The company says the filter is good for 100,000 gallons and should last 3 to 5 years, which means at the very least you'll probably tap no more than 1% of its potential on the PCT, unless you run a lot of silt-ridden water through it. In which case, if you come across silty water, you can let it settle, or maybe just run it through a bandana to remove some of the silt ahead of time. Another thing that's important about the Sawyer squeeze is you don't want to freeze it because it could get brittle and destroy the filtering system. So what I do is I shake it out every night when I think it's going to be cold, put it in a plastic bag, and then put it at the bottom of my sleeping bag. But again, this little connector here, this little coupling, allows you to connect right to your water bottle, and it keeps your Sawyer squeeze from slipping or knocking over your water bottle, which could be frustrating, especially when you've worked so hard to get a liter of water. I had to laugh when I pulled this out of my bag. It reminded me of how feral I had become on the trail. This is a Trekology inflatable pillow, and it's just filthy. And I don't know, it kind of looks like it's a science project just waiting to happen. But it never got a hole in it, and it never failed me through at least 150 nights out on the trail. So this is a pretty sturdy pillow, and I'm taking it again with me on the PCT. My next heroic gear item is my Neo Air X-Therm sleeping pad. This never got a hole in it, and I even blew it up by my mouth instead of just using the bag, which is something you're not supposed to do. I bought this closed cell foam pad for a little extra R value, and this kept the needles and the thorns away from the air mattress, so I highly recommend carrying one of these. It's also a nice pad to lay on during siestas. This Thermarest has an R value of 6.9, and it weighs about 15 ounces. And I was impressed with it, so it's going to be on my trip this year again. See if it makes it to the border. Okay, the fifth gear item I'd like to share with you is this titanium spork. I love this thing. It keeps your fingers from getting greasy when you're eating a dehydrated meal. And the only problem is the color is a little bit earth tone or a little bit dark, and so you might lose it if you set off early in the morning or you're eating late at night. So my solution was just to tie a little fluorescent rope on the end of it, a little fluorescent string I should say, and that'll help keep me from losing it, I hope. I don't think it's worth it to buy anything camouflage when you go backpacking because you just wind up losing it. The sixth item I'd like to share with you is the Peak Design camera capture clip. This is for photographers. If you really like to have your camera accessible, then I recommend this product. One part hooks to your strap, and then you have a little bit of a shoe here, and you clip it right in, and now you've got your camera with you in case you see a deer or moose, a bear, a beautiful sunrise, sunset. You have your camera accessible, and boom, you can start shooting. I just love this because I think it increased the amount of footage I took on the PCT, because if you have a camera buried in your backpack, it's really hard to reach. And this thing endured well. I would suggest though, when you attach this part, the receiving part, onto your backpacking strap, then maybe use a little bit of Loctite on the threads to ensure that it doesn't come loosen while you're hiking. That would be my one recommendation. Okay, my 7th piece of indispensable backpacking gear is my trekking poles, Black Diamond trekking poles. And during my years before I did the PCT, I probably went through 10 sets of trekking poles. I kept breaking them. But these things are pretty miraculous. They're almost heroes. They lasted 2,005 miles, and the only thing that happened to them was the tips broke off. But I can still keep using them. And these trekking poles help prevent a lot of spills and falls. And one of the things I'm really impressed with is the wrist straps have stayed in, and they don't look like they're going to come out. And again, the only thing that went bad on them was the tips. And you can also use your trekking poles to store Leukotape or duct tape in case you have to do a repair on the trail. So these are definitely going with me again. Okay, my 8th piece of indispensable gear is my Nitecore Headlight. I love this little light because you get a lot of bang for the buck, or for the gram if you will. It reaches 360 lumens. And one of the things I would consider doing is maybe buying the yellow version. So I'm into bright colors, so I don't want to lose anything accidentally on the trail during the night or in the morning while I'm packing. This thing has been steady and solid, and it recharges easily, and it seems to last a long time. Okay, I also carry 2 Nitecore 10,000 milliamp battery chargers. These are very light, very durable, and they lasted the entire trip without a hitch, and I'm going to depend on them again this year. It can charge an iPhone maybe 2-3 times, and it can charge up to 2 devices simultaneously. Each one weighs a little over 5 ounces, and it's a lot lighter than other battery chargers. So these will be going into my backpack this year. Okay, my 10th item is my MSR Pocket Rocket Stove. This little stove has been a warhorse. And I got to be honest, I didn't acquire this until I reached Kennedy Meadows. My jet boil stove fell apart. It lost the intercoupling of all things, and so a fuel bottle wouldn't stick on it. But luckily I met a backpacking guide at Kennedy Meadows, and she sold me this pocket rocket, and it lasted the whole trip. It fired up every time. It survived a lot of hardships and brutal treatment, and I'm going to be packing it again this year. For me, a stove is essential. I'm not a cold soaker. I have to have a cup of hot coffee in the morning. That's one of my luxury items. This little stove weighs 2.6 ounces, and it boils a liter of water in about 3.5 minutes. Well, I've just shared with you my top 10 trusty, indispensable backpacking items that I'm going to take again with me this year on the PCT. I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be links to all these products in the description. And please consider hitting that subscribe button if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more. And so, until we meet again, live wildly, my friends.